Welcome to our next adventure with Chemology 411, a podcast about anything and everything. Kim and her guests will take you behind the scenes, behind the story, or behind the bar. So sit back. Make sure your seatbelt is fastened, tray table in its upright position, all carry-ons stored under the seats. But for this adventure, electronic devices must remain on, as we are ready to take off on our next adventure. Introducing Kim Schultz and Chemology 411.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode 39. Tonight's episode, we're going to talk about word-of-mouth marketing in 2020. I am Kim Schultz, and I'm your adventure coordinator for this show. Let's say hi to my co-host, Tyson Harley.
Hey, can you be a dance coordinator for me? Because I'm trying to share dance over here when I hear episode 39. And I think I need a coordination coordinator.
Now, I think you got some good moves there.
I don't even break them out, man. Episode 39.
39.
And Kimmy's all happy coming back from the vacay.
Oh, my goodness. I am a whole new person.
Speaking of vacay, let's go ahead to the first of Tyson's Quick Hits. A vacation from me.
Yeah.
Let me explain. Not you, although you did have that. You did have, now, wait a second. This is why she's so happy. Now, what I was going to say is that I've kind of had a vacation from me, as in my normal lifestyle.
Oh, yeah.
Because my nephew's been visiting.
I know, I got to meet him.
Yes, and he's been visiting now since almost 11 days? No, I think we're on 11th day. Yeah, like 11 or 12 days.
Yeah.
11 days. So that's been great fun. He hasn't wanted to strangle me yet. We're doing fine. We've had a great time. It's awesome. Yay. So the vacation for me has worked really well, while you also had a vacation for me.
I did.
Quick hit number 2. Okay. Now, I wonder if you ever played Frisbee when you were a kid.
I did. I loved playing Frisbee.
Did you play hacky sack?
I did play hacky sack.
Anyway,
yeah.
I'm really good at hacky sack. But anyway, one thing that I would play as a young adult.
I'm not good.
I'm pretty good. The other day, you know my age. The other day I tried and I got up to 40-some hits without it hitting the ground.
Oh, my.
Now, I was a little tired. Don't get me wrong. But anyway, what I was going to say, speaking of things like that, did you ever see, instead of Frisbee, an aerobie?
Is that a vacuum cleaner? Oh, no, that's a Roomba.
So it's like a Frisbee, but it was specially designed. It's actually been around for probably 25 years now. And it's in a ring, and it has a hard plastic inside of the ring. On the outside, it's rubber, so it's softer. And it's designed so that it goes forever. Someone has thrown it. I'm not kidding you. So if you're standing away from somebody with a big, heavy Frisbee on a nice day, you can hit 50 yards, probably. Right. About 50. Someone has thrown this 1,333 feet. I want you to think about that.
That's a long...
So
that's like
three football fields would be 120 yards apiece, right? Because 10 yards on each end. So 360 yards times 3 would be 1,080 feet. This is well over 3 football fields. So... the neph is visiting, and he likes to get his exercise in, shooting baskets, this and that, so it's fun. And I'm like, you know what? I don't have a Frisbee right now. Let's go get it. And then I thought, let me get an aerobie. So over by on one of the practice fields for one of the high schools, we've been playing aerobie. And if you don't know, if you like to get incidental running in, it is so much fun. Because you got to throw it really straight. If you've thrown a Frisbee, you know you can kind of throw it at an angle, and then it'll even back out.
Right.
You don't do this with this. If you throw an aerobie at an angle, it will be off by 30 yards. I mean left or right off.
Wow.
So what you got to do is throw it perfectly level. And if you throw it level and just get a nice wrist flick in, you can throw it 80 yards. You can be playing catch 80 yards away. I'm not kidding.
Gosh.
Today, the wind came up a little bit, and it was behind my nephew's back, and he would throw it. He didn't have it super level, and I could tell. It's kind of like how you'll see baseball, and you'll see them trying to read the baseball.
Right.
There's a long enough time for them to read it that they can start reacting slowly.
They can figure out where they need to be on the field.
That's how long it's going to be in the air on the way to you. But the thing is, if it catches it right, it's going to go up a little bit, and it will be 40 yards off to the right or left.
Oh.
And So I've been getting my running in, which I absolutely love.
So are you saying he doesn't throw very well?
Oh, sometimes he does. But so far he doesn't have it perfect. But he probably threw him. He's only 14 and a half, and he didn't have to wing it. He probably threw several 90-yarders today. Because the wind got behind it.
Good job.
Anyway, that's great fun. So if you play Frisbee, go try a Roby. The thing is, it's a ring. You can't catch it on the edge because it's going fast enough that if you try to catch it on the edge with your hand, like a clamp catch, it's going to bounce off your hand. You got to just go Saturday Night Fever with your arm up into the ring. Just think the Saturday Night Fever classic John Travolta.
Yes.
That's how it just goes around your arm.
So anyway, is it hollow in the middle?
Yeah, it's got a big old hole that's about
I know what you're talking
8-9
about.
inches across, and then it's orangish or reddish on the outside with soft rubber, and it moves. So if you ever on this nice part of the year, just you can play 30 yards apart, and just barely be flicking it. Barely be flicking it. And then you can always just go back a little further once you feel like you have a little bit more control of it. So great fun. And it made me feel so young because I used to do it. Quick hit number 3. I didn't feel as young when I did this one time. So earlier we're like, hey, I'm working, but during the day, during the morning, I'm at home. So when I take my break, we can just go play football outside. Not play it, but just throw it, right?
Right.
So I got a football, and I turned my hand just right. So imagine you're going to catch something to your right and about your knees. Now your right hand and your palm is going, coming towards you. Your palm's going to be in a good position. But if you put your left hand down there to catch it with both hands, then twist it to where your palm is facing away from you forward, your wrist is really kind of cocked weird, and I totally jammed my wrist doing that. It still hurts.
No.
This is like 7-8 days ago. So as much as the Roby made me feel young, that makes me feel kind of young, kind of old, because my wrist hurts from it. Okay, last quick hit. Okay, we've talked about misheard lyrics.
Yes.
Well, I was thinking of misheard lyrics, but I was then thinking of, I don't know why I never realized this is a super dumb lyric. Okay, do you know any 90s country songs?
90s country songs?
Yeah.
So is that like Shania Twain?
Maybe late
Shania
80s,
Twain.
maybe late 80s, but I think early 90s. But yeah, give or take it.
Well, Shania Twain was...
John Deere Green, do you know that?
Oh, yeah.
On a hot summer night, he wrote Billy Bob Loves Charlene.
Yep.
And letters 3 foot high. Well, the whole town said that he should have used red, but it looked good to Charlene. And then I just thought yesterday, I've thought through that, I've heard that song thousands of times. Remember what I said with misheard lyrics? Like my brain just does not engage.
Right.
I'll be thinking, I don't know, something about carrots and a pickup. And I won't even put together that they don't have anything to do with each other. But think about this. Sometimes lyrics are just stupid. Why would the whole town tell him he should have used red? So he writes a name up on the water tower. That's the idea.
Right.
The whole town says that he should have used red. What the hell difference would it make?
Well, maybe there's some symbolic with the red means like a heart, means love.
Oh.
There's like
Billy Bob Loves Charlene. Mm-hmm. Maybe. See, I just thought it was just straight up out of you know what? You should have used red. I'm like, why would the whole town say that? But maybe that's it. Maybe it's not as dumb of a lyric as I thought. Maybe you've caught on.
Yeah.
I guess I really am disconnected from my country music roots. I don't know. And that's the end of Tyson's Quick Hits for the day.
Awesome. So, did you miss me when I was gone?
Yes, of course. Your adventures in Dallas.
Oh, I know. So I spent 9 days in Dallas, and so I'm gonna talk just a little bit about traveling. I was supposed to go last month, and things still weren't opened up, and I really was still busy with taxes and stuff. So I moved it to this month, and then my mom and of course my daughter were both like, "You're still going?" And I was like, yeah, why not? And they're like, on a plane. Yeah, I'm going on a plane. And so people just were like, in today's world, this is the most, okay, I was raised Catholic. And and there's a lot of guilt in Catholic, all right? a lot of guilt. The way that, like, just in the old-fashioned Catholic. I don't know the new-fashioned Catholic because I don't go there, but it was just a lot of guilt. And right now, we're all under guilt. You don't get to have a life. You don't get to go anywhere. If I don't get to go anywhere, you don't get to go anywhere. And if I have to wear a mask, you have to wear a mask. And if you don't wear a mask, then you're just being ridiculous and you're just being selfish and you have to wear a mask because I have to wear a mask because my body tells me I have to wear a mask. We're living in fear. We're living in all this chaos. And so I was like, no, I'm taking a plane. And they're like, you're going to have to wear a mask. And I don't wear masks out because I have asthma and it bothers me. And so anyone listening to this and you're like, oh, you're going to kill grandma. Grandma needs to stay at home. Like, she needs to stay away from people. And this is exactly, and we'll talk about that later, but anyway, so I was like, well, yeah, I know I have to wear a mask on the plane because that makes sense to me. Like, we're in a closed area. I have no problem. And it's an hour and 30 minutes. And so I get to the airport. And I'm standing outside my car, which I go to number 7, which is the Mickey Mouse one. There are no cars. When I drive into the airport...
Wait, the Mickey Mouse what?
There's 7. Like, you go to this... You ever been to the airport?
No. What do you like, Kansas City or something?
Yeah, when we go to Kansas City, the airport, to park your car, I went to number 7, which is where you park. So right. I'm in number 7. So they put
symbols so you remember?
Yeah, so Mickey Mouse. That's my thing.
I just thought you meant like the really poorly run part of the garage.
No, it's just
it's a Mickey Mouse operation.
No.
Did you ever use that phrase?
Yeah. No. How insulting. Mickey knows his stuff. So anyway, when I drive in, normally it'll say like 1,100 parking stalls available because there's a number. So when you go in, it keeps track. I drive in 4,896 available parking spots. I was like, so I drive past 1, 2, 3, 4, and I see my 6, which you turn there and you go to 7. There was like 5 cars. So I pull in right next to where I go. I get out. I pull my stuff off. I see the bus coming. I put my mask on because I don't know the rules. And I'm going to be the safe person. I'm not going to be the person that walks on the bus and all these masked people look at me like, what a killer are you? Mm-hmm. I walk on the bus, not a mask in sight except on the driver. I was like, pop that thing off. I can't breathe in it. It's hot out. So we got on there. Then a gentleman got on with his little boy and they had their mask on. And I was like, he's not taking his kid's mask off. That kid, is like, he's probably convinced him we have to keep it on, to get to visit mom or grandma or aunt or the ocean, whatever they're going. We get to the airport, walk in, no masks. I was like, okay. I mean, the people working had masks on. I go over, they're like, you can do the full service, which does not really exist in normal days, but they're so bored, they want to help you. I'm like, no, I got it. Got my little thing, put it on,
like
checked
at a
my
kiosk
bag.
or something?
Yeah, the little
kiosk.
Yeah, I got my thing, stuck it on my bag, checked it in. I go through security, no mask, and you don't have to put a mask on until you get on the plane. I know. I was like, how am I going to sit here for 2 hours with a mask on? But nope, you didn't have to. Now, people had the masks on. You're not sitting next to anybody because there's really not that many people in there.
Kind of social distancing built in.
Yeah,
anyway.
I mean, you're kind of like nobody was sitting right next to you.
Which is kind of what we were saying early is that, listen, if
just
you're really
away.
getting the message out and people believe you because they think it's valid, there's going to be some organic, distancing there because less people are going to be taking the risk.
I got through security just fine. I had to take my laptop and my microphone and all that kind of stuff to do stuff down in Dallas, and got on the plane, watched a movie, Spies in Disguise, cute movie.
I saw that post and I didn't look into it.
Oh my gosh, it's so cute. It's one of my best. I will get that one. It's a good show. Got down to Dallas, no problems. A little bumpy ride, at the end because there was like some clouds or turbulence or something, and we just really didn't do a lot down there. We ate at home. James cooked a lot. We did go out to eat one night. We went to go to Val's Cheesecake, which Superstar. They were sold out because the coronavirus. They haven't been, they're not making as much. And so they were sold out. So we went to a restaurant called Snuffers, which is down the street.
They were entirely sold out, or just like the thing that you
sold
wanted?
Out. No, everything was gone
Wow.
by an hour early. So we text Val the sign. We were like, must have been a good day. And he's like, oh man, I miss you. Next day, positive case of COVID. Had to close down for the rest of the week to test everybody that was in there. And I guess that's just something that you do, to close down. And so I didn't get cheesecake, but I did get my donut with my ice cream in the middle. So good.
Ooh.
It's so good.
Did you do a picture of that last time?
Yeah, I did. I did a picture of that too. So anyway, that was really our eat out experience. Other than that, I went to the neighbor's pool. I went to our friend Mindy's pool. I stayed at home. I got all my emails cleared out of my inbox. 1,200 of them filed, nice and neat, where they need to go. New file folders. That's freaking awesome because I'm coming back here to make my $1 million. I don't know if you know that or not, but once I get that new desk, I ordered a new desk. It's on. I'm unstoppable with my new desk.
So, how was the weather? Because it was pretty warm for the most part up here. Not awful, but nice and warm and not a lot of rain. A couple of days, that's about it.
Same thing. Every other day it was a rain day. I mean, we had some major storms, like some really bad wind on a couple of days, but I just stayed in. Monday was like the nicest day. I went out and was... after I got payroll done, I went down to the pool for a couple hours. The next 2 days, it was cloudy, which was okay because we just stayed inside or I went to the pool. Every night we went to the pool for the first 5 days next door because they had already moved out 2 months ago and they still have access to the house. And they were like, Kim, use our pool. So we went over there every night. We did a video. So if you're friends with me on Facebook, well, I'll say why I changed that in a minute, but you can go watch my video on
So
the
at
alcohol.
night, is it like... Wait a second. I interrupted when I shouldn't have.
Yeah, you should
Re-say the end of that thought.
It's a bunch of alcohol. We got baby bottles, and well, we had some fun taste testing a lot of alcohol. So maybe I'll share that video in the Kimology group. That way everybody can see it.
So at night then, is it like close enough to a house where it's shaded too in the early evening, or did you get a massive amount of sun? Well, it looks like you got tan, but you're not burnt or anything.
No, I didn't get burnt at all. Well, I've been walking outside since March, so I didn't get burnt at all. My skin is really weird. Back as a child, I used to get burnt all the time. And now, if I just gradually kind of get out there, I'm pretty good. I mean, I could get burnt if I did like a 4-hour day or whatever. But anyway, so not good news. While I'm down in Dallas, my friend sends me a message and says that one of my very, very close friends has died. He had a stroke during the weekend. And, his wife was posting on Facebook, and he was just he was very close to me. He was a DJ, a local DJ in Topeka, and, that really just hasn't, it hasn't hit me yet, because I've been so busy since I got back.
Right.
And of course you can't really have funerals and stuff like that now.
Still can't?
No, you can only do small gatherings, but they're going to do a party. We'll do a bigger thing later. So, I don't know. That was kind of messed up, and he's just been so sad because he hasn't been paid. He was so frustrated because he's a DJ and everybody was being mean to him.
You mean like an event one?
Yeah, that's his full-time job. All of his events have been canceled. He had a couple coming up that were outside. He tried to do parties in his yard, like a yard party, all for the neighbors and stuff, just because he was bored. Facebook shut him down because he was using licensed music during the pandemic to keep people's morale up. So yay, thank you Facebook for that. Anyway, everything he was trying, it was just, and then people would cancel again, and then weddings and all that. It was just sad. And he was they were we talked about it in the last episode about that $600. Don't think that because you were unemployed, you're just going to get all this money and it's just coming in to help you save it. We have a lot of people right now that have not been paid since March. So as all these people getting their full paychecks telling me not to worry about those people.
Don't worry, we're in it together.
you and
It's
I
like,
are...
really? Why don't you share your paycheck then?
Why don't you just split your paycheck, and when I get my money, I'll give you your money back. Oh, not a good idea?
We're not that together.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I guess we're not exactly together, but anyway, so he passed away, and then I was like looking, and I saw someone posted in my downtown group that I have, and one of our downtown business owners passed away, and I don't know how she passed away. So I need to find that out. So 2 people in 1 week, and they come in threes, and so I'm kind of hoping that cats count.
Yeah, so I didn't do that as a quick hit, but lost my longtime buddy.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that.
After 18 years.
We'll talk about that in an excursion in a while, because that's a long story.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a long story, but it's also just kind of interesting as a societal thing for some other factors that are part of it. So,
right.
Yeah.
So I was like, maybe that's my 3.
Yep, maybe that's the 3.
That's my 3, because, they come in threes, and I was like, if God loves cats, then
yeah, exactly.
Maybe that counted, and I'm like, check off, and I can move on.
Like I've been around that cat more than I've been around any human in the last 2 decades.
I know, that was your best little buddy.
Yep.
So anyway, so we're still dealing with all of the stuff going on in our, life. And, I keep snoozing people for 30 days, and I'm on the 4th time, and they're not even making it a day. They're not making it a day. Today, the same people shared the same stupid comment.
From 2 months ago? Yeah.
Like, in the 3 months ago, I'm on, like 2 days ago, I really have like 5 people that are on my Facebook that I'm seeing things from. And then all of a sudden I see another person. I'm like,
another cycle.
They must be ungrounded.
They're off. They're off suspension.
And they screw it up with the first post.
Haven't you learned anything by being grounded and not knowing it? The very first post.
How hard is it to not be selfish and just wear a mask? If I hear that one more time, I'm going to scream. So I was talking with one of my friends, and I said, here's the deal. This is reality.
I still have not hugged a stranger, even though I have not worn a mask. I know that's hard to believe, but no, I've not gone up to anybody and just invaded their private space and just. I know that's crazy.
Like every day?
Because it's so hard to do. Right. It's so hard not to just run up to people and get right in their face.
Right into the face, and then
by the way, speaking of right in the face. My nephew has introduced me to Community as well, so I've now watched a lot, and I realized one of Mr. Chang's comedic deals is to get right in somebody's face
and rub his face all over their face.
It's hilarious, man. And the first few that we saw, there was about 2 or 3 episodes that were surreal. Like, you know how sometimes on these long-running shows are even like kind of just comedy-based, that Family Guy. They just have this episode that has nothing to do with the rest of it. It's just kind of almost a theme episode, and it's just bizarre.
Yeah.
Anyway, we saw some of. I suppose I've seen some good portion of 30, probably.
Have you seen any of the forts, the blanket fort yet?
Yep. I've seen one, and I've seen one where it's a paintball war. Yeah.
Those are good. I still got to finish those. But anyway, so my friend and I were talking, and I said, okay, so what would you say that, before this pandemic, what are some things that we tried to tell people to do so they didn't die or kill us? And one of them is texting and driving, because people still text and drive and get into car accidents. But the biggest one was smoking. Now, I've got asthma, and smoke irritates my asthma a lot, to where if I walk by someone that's smoking and I'm not prepared, it'll just get into my bronchial tubes and I can't breathe. I mean, that's how serious smoking is. But if I take my inhalers and my medicines and I prepare myself, I can be around it, but it does affect me. Now I can't wear a mask because I can't breathe in the mask. It bothers me. And so my friend went and looked it up, and she was like, "Did you know that 480,000 people die every year because of smoking, and that 41,000 people die from secondhand smoke. 41,000 people die. That is someone else smoking, and they're killing someone else. Yeah, we keep sitting here going, keep going. We need to, you need to cover up your mouth and not do this bad stuff. And we have a warning on the side of a cigarette pack that says, you're going to die. And they go like this, I don't care. And I see people with masks smoking. They just put the cigarette under their mask. So I don't get it. I don't understand.
I just picture one with just one little hole so you can just push it right in.
But since I've been 7 years old, I have asthma, and nobody cares about my asthma. When we were fighting to have no smoking inside the buildings and in bars, people were telling me, it's my choice to go in there and smoke, and if you don't like it, don't go. And I said, I don't go. Like, I don't go. I'm not coming into your bar when it's too smoky. I can't come in there. So I'm like, I don't go.
Are you trying to tell me that you have control over your own risk?
I did.
Controlling your own risk?
And when I went in to a smoking, like when I go to the casino, I sit in the non-smoking section. They've got intense purifier things in there, but I still go in the non-smoking section. I know the smoke is there. I take my medicine, but no one's going to sit next to me and blow smoke in my face, because that's what you get in the smoking section.
All the people talking to you like this.
So, I make that choice. I'm like, if something happens to me, I'm making that choice. But if when we go to places, when we used to say we're a Cracker Barrel, we went non-smoking, and they'd sit you next to the little fence that the smoking was on the other side, and there was no glass in between. And I'd be like this, oh, no, we're going to need to move, because I'm not going to have their smoke being blown in my face. And then they would move us, or I'm just very adamant about it, but I will leave. I'm not going to make you change your policy if that's what you want. Like today, Menard said, you can't come in without a mask. Okay, and I left. Not an argument, not a fight. I don't care. I'll take my money someplace else if that's what you choose. I'm not going to put on a mask to run back for 5 seconds to see if you have a desk and leave. You have nobody's in here. You can social distance, whatever. So
I don't know if Menard's where you guys are, but here, I remember looking when I first saw it was going to be this way, there with the mask, and I just looked at the Google map, Google satellite image, and basically that building, for all practical purposes, is the size of a Walmart.
Yeah, it's
so you talked about space built in, but anyway, Go ahead.
So anyway, that was my thing, just to bring up what's still going on. I still like to rant about that, because I'm just, I wore my mask on the airplane, and if I don't want to wear a mask, I won't go. I don't tell people don't do it. I'm like, I'm not going to tell Menard, that's not fair. That's your law. That's your rule. I'm going to walk out. I'll follow that rule. If you tell me that I can't leave my house without a mask, then I wouldn't wear the mask. I would think that was stupid. But if that was the law, like a seatbelt is the law, I would wear the law. But when someone says, you know what, Kim, I suggest you don't run in high heels, I still have the option to run in high heels. That's what a suggestion is. Mm-hmm. Or they say, you know what, I suggest you don't go swimming after eating a turkey dinner. And someone said the other day, don't go swimming until you've had. I'm like, that really doesn't work when you're just standing in a pool. Like, I'm not really swimming. But, like when my mom said, this is the rule, that's the rule that I abide. That's what I went by. But when someone tells me and starts threatening me and bullying me into something, Kimology, we know this. I don't like to be told what to do. And if it was justifiable, I would. But the facts that I've read, I don't see it, so. Sorry, people.
Oh, by the way, very quickly. So one day we thought the pools were going to open around here. Right. And then you said, oh, you know what? Somebody mixed up the county with a city with the same name. Yeah. So have you heard?
Yeah, they're open.
They are?
Yeah. Half capacity.
Nice. Maybe I'll bring the Neff to the pool. Yeah. Maybe he'll get himself a little Topeka 14-year-old girlfriend or something. when he visits. Well, girlfriend in a 14-year-old sense.
That's right.
Oh, one of those cute long-distance relationships.
Yeah, he's a doll.
Yeah.
We got to go eat ice cream.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, all right, guys. So the other day on Facebook, I just made a comment that said, if Facebook social media were to go away, what else do you do to market your business? And, or what would you do? The answer is all basically 90% were word of mouth is all I need.
Yeah, and so this topic is going to be one where I'm basically sounding board because Kim is the major expert and I'll be asking questions and just throwing in some input here and there.
Right.
So maybe I'll ask questions that you're thinking of. So we'll let Kimmy take over.
So, back in the days when we had television, radio, newspaper, and the phone book. That's how we advertised. And when we talked about word of mouth would have been you're out at a party, you're at the pool, you were out in a social area, and you were like, hey, does anybody know who does roofing?
Right.
That's how word of mouth was before the internet.
Right.
Because there was no way to communicate except through a telephone. And you might call up a friend, but reality is back then, word of mouth more was, oh my gosh, I got my roof done. If you ever need your roof done, you need to call Roofers R Us.
Right.
And so then someone's like, oh yeah, I'm thinking about getting a roof. And then they'd be like, hey Kim, the other night you were talking about a roofing company.
Who did you say?
Yeah, that was Roofings R Us. That's word of mouth. I don't know what people really think word of mouth is, but that's really what word of mouth was. It was someone talking to you about a good experience or a bad experience. Oh my gosh, I had the best cheeseburger the other day over at Wild Woody's Cheeseburger Emporium. And they'll be like, man, I should try that. Or I don't like cheeseburgers. That's word of mouth. But now people think, well, if we lost social media, if it went down, because, Facebook is doing a lot of different things. And if something doesn't come in to take over Facebook, we could be in a world of hurt if they continue doing the stuff that they're doing. Like if something else comes in, you have to rebuild everything you've built. I'm not saying that Facebook is going away, but
right.
if something else came in, you have to rebuild it. And we've had multiple things try to take it over, like Google Plus or some other different things that they're not as popular. So we have word of mouth. And I don't know if the way life works right now, if word of mouth actually works, because we don't really talk to people. We put all of our stuff on the social media, meaning like, here's my hamburger. But when we're in a social and we're out socially, do you talk about food? Because I don't talk about it. I've already posted it. I've put it over here. And I think we've trained ourselves differently.
So, yeah, your overlap of Facebook is two things then, the way you're discussing right now. Because one is, you've got advertising options, you've got pages, but also when you say what if that goes away, you got two different things that are going away. All the people who are posting pictures of your products on their Facebook posts for free,
right?
That informal low level word of mouth plus whatever the various actual ads you're buying. So it's interesting that you say that that if it went away and the pictures. So I don't know if you meant that. But one thing I wanted to mention regarding word of mouth, I always just find it anecdotal. It doesn't necessarily make me want to go there because opinions can vary. So if someone just goes, you know what, and I don't mean Facebook, I mean any word of mouth.
Right.
If someone goes, oh, well, I just loved what they did. What would I be like? I'd be like, but why? And do you know? Have you compared? How many times have you had your roof done? Do you even know if the person did a good job?
Right.
So things like that.
Anyway, exactly. And so there's all different types of the marketing. So let's see what else we have here before we go down to the things. Let's see here. Questions. My questions is these who believe word of mouth is true marketing plan. How do they log the success rate of this method? how do you log that except for like the referrals? So I can see if you're a home improvement company, roofer, plumber, something like that, and you're working with you and maybe one other person, your projects per year are limited. Yeah. Meaning you're not a huge company. And I think a lot of the people that made the comments are those 1 and 2 people thing. So that's perfectly fine. If you have a restaurant or a retail store or a actual brick and mortar business, word of mouth is not going to do it for you. And I know a lot of people who only do Facebook advertising, and that's fine, but if Facebook went away, what would you do? Because you're not gonna, you have to be told like 13 times nowadays because we have so much going on that nobody's gonna remember. There's a store out north in Topeka. It's called Uniquely Yours, and it used to be in Brookwood, and I went in there one time and spoke with the owners, and all they do is Facebook stuff. I haven't seen them on my Facebook at all. They're a huge, amazing deals. I mean, you can get like $100 pair of boots for like $15, brand new. Everything is brand new. They've got it there. It's an amazing store. You know how many times I've been to their new location? 0. Because I don't even think about it. And I'm like, I'm going to go clothes shopping today. And what do I think? I think, well, I can go to JCPenney's because I see those advertisements on the television or on social media. So I think we have a little myth about...
Yeah, and I'll touch on it later if we don't get to it. But the problem with the word of mouth is that if you look into some of the theories of advertising, it requires repetition.
Right.
And so if one person... it could still work without repetition, but to your point, high levels of... you need a lot of customers. For them to think of you top of mind, they have to hear it repeatedly, not once from a good friend. Mm-hmm. It's possible they'll think of you from that, but this plain old word of mouth is just not going to be repetition based.
Right. So currently, if I need a roofer, I go on Facebook to my 5,000 friends and I say, who do you suggest to have my roof done? And I'm going to get 30 different options right there. If social media was not there, how would I do that? I'm not, how would I know that? You can go to the phone book, like the Yellow Pages, which is required by law to have to come out, but nobody advertises in the actual phone book that we get. So are they really going to be in there? Are you going to find the roofers in there? Do they have phone numbers or their cell phone numbers? We really aren't. We are not in a area to where if the internet actually went down, let's just say with this COVID thing, what happens if the internet went down for 1 month? 1 month. We never thought that the economy would close down for 3 months.
Right.
All right. But let's just say a huge glitch comes in, Martians come down, zap something, and we have no internet. Do we know how crippled this world would be?
I mean, no internet, you'd be done.
You'd be done. We have nothing. Almost
so if it
everything
was some fraction of it being gone, like, I don't know,
right.
Zuckerberg, God willing, we find out he did something awful and he's in prison for the rest of his life. So, I mean, God forbid that happen. Please, oh, please let it happen. But all of a sudden, let's say just partially it's down.
Right.
And so, yeah, the world's not ending, but some chunk of it that's important for this goes down. Like
Y2K, we all thought we were dead. We all thought everything was going to crash. So it is important, but are we ready for that? Probably not. So anyway, but any business needs to have an accountant, important, and a marketing plan. I don't care what it is. Whether it's an email list, whether it is through direct mail, whether you send them the greeting cards like I do, whether you hang flyers on people's doors, whether you call people on the phone, whatever that marketing plan is, television, radio, print, you have to have a marketing plan. And most people do not have a marketing plan. When I ask people, do you have a marketing plan? I don't have money for that. Well, then why are you opening? I mean, because in order for you to be successful, you really have to have customers. It's just kind of weird. I know, it's kind of weird, isn't it?
Well, and to your point then, without a plan, then where is your reportable? What is your goal for each one? Do you have some kind of a goal between your 3 or 4 or 5 different avenues of trying to do customer outreach to understand what is that combination where maybe this one's not working, but this one's working well enough? You know, how much can one avenue overtake your expectations in order for it to make up for another one just failing miserable with your expectations? What does all that look like? And you better have more than 1 or 2 different options.
You need to.
I've said, as you've heard me say before with my theater history, that it's amazing to me sometimes, and I know it's community theater. Some people have done dozens and dozens and dozens of shows, hundreds of performances. But it's amazing to me how even in that community, it's almost like, well, don't worry, we've got built-in customers. We don't need to really outreach, because if people know, then they know. It's like, that's not the point of a plan to market. Point of a plan is to, keep you in the mind of the people who are the major fans and usual goer. But on top of that, try to get more.
Right.
So what's that supposed to look like? You know, it's one thing to do maintenance, maintenance levels, and that's important. And is word of mouth ever going to be maintenance level? To your point, maybe for those people who they get 15 big jobs in a year, they're good, but not for who need, ideally, for some true success, for 50 people to come through the door every day.
Right.
So how do you get not just a maintenance to potential growth levels, and or even this idea of people know they have a dream, they know they want to do something, but they'd like to be able to do it for 8 hours and make enough to make it work.
Right.
Not have to, not be able to, or worst case, not have to do it themselves, or have to do it themselves for 12 hours, not be able to afford to hire somebody. What if you can get your, I'll say, I don't know, I'm sure maybe your, not G's, anyway, your cheesecake place, Val's.
Val's, yeah.
So we have some barbecue places around here. We're nothing like Kansas City, don't get me wrong. We're not far from there. Kansas City is a great barbecue place. But where some of the plan is, if I can sell this much in a certain day, I close early.
Right.
So, where's that goal? Like, how much do you have to stay open in order to make it work? And is your plan taking into account the idea that you're trying to make that balance of work-life balance and your dream and how much it's taking something that you can handle long term? Because if you're not planning that, then are you ready to work 14 hours a day for the next 6 years because it's something you love?
Right.
And then your dream becomes your nightmare? So there's a lot involved with these plans, like where you are, where you're going to go, how you're going to get there.
And they're all different. So you were talking about a barbecue place, if you analyze your meals and you're like, okay, if I sell 125 pounds of meat a day through my quarter pound, half pound meals, you calculate that all out with your accountant, and you say, this is all we're going to make every single day. When we're out. That's a marketing plan right there. If your meal is good enough, people are going to be like, holy crap, we got to get there and stand in line. And you have to pray and hope that you get up there. And if you got there too late and you waited in line, they're like, sorry, dude, food's out. And that is your marketing plan. That is what people learn. It's like, you can do that. We have a restaurant that was actually on a national thing, and people in Kansas City were mad because they would go to get food and the line is just all the way down the street because it was on television. And that's what they do. When they're out, they're out. Barbecue, You can't just whip up a brisket. You have to make so much. You have to know what you're doing, and you want to make enough for the day and be good. So, that kind of works out. But the other day when I asked someone, they told me, I just go to Yelp. Mm-hmm. So let me just tell you how many times I've used Yelp. Probably once. I don't use Yelp. And what I don't use it for is, it's called, to me, it's not word of mouth. It's called review marketing. Right. It's review marketing. And I am going to take a perfectly good stranger's opinion. And why I say that is because I did on Amazon the other day, a while back, I bought a webcam, and within 3 months the volume went out, and then within 6 months later, without even being a year old, the camera didn't work anymore. Mm-hmm. So I ordered a new camera. It worked for a minute, and then it didn't work, and then my Windows 10 had to be updated, so I really need to see if it still works. But I went on and I made a review. And I was like, the sound quit working, so I had to use my Yeti. And then 6 months later, it quit working with my computer altogether, so I had to order another one. I'm going through cleaning out my email box, and I see an email that says webcam on it. And I was like, what? From Amazon webcam. I click on it, and it's like, hi, my name is Latasha or whatever, and I work with such and such, and we pride ourselves here and there. And if you take your review down, we'll give you a $20 Amazon card. And I was like, deleted. They sent me a code, and I just spent it on my new calendar that I bought. $20, they gave it to me. So that took down the bad
ridiculous.
review. So you're those kind of things in the back of my marketing hand, like, okay, well, yeah, they leave up the good ones. But when you go in and I look at someone and they're telling me how they like their food, I'm with friends that I wouldn't go with what they say, because all they do is complain about everything. It's too cold. It's too hot. The service sucked. I'm like, where were you? We're at the same restaurant and we had a totally different experience. So now we try to act as if Yelp is word of mouth, and it's not. Because when my friend had a bad Yelp review, all I did was called up 35 people and I said, here's the link. I need you to go do a good review for this place. And they all went on and said, I love this place. I love this place. Great place, great place. Because we were trying to move the Yelp comment down. Yelp then called the business and said, if you pay us all this money, we'll give you control over your reviews. But if you don't pay us, that bad one stays up at the top.
See, I remember
they got in trouble for that.
I remember hearing it was some business, and the idea was that you needed to take control over, bad reviews. I'm like, okay, from here on out, it's totally, it's just,
you can
lies fighting lies at this point. So I as soon as I heard that, it was, I can't remember the name of it, but it was basically worried about your business's online reputation. And it's like, okay, you're being paid to help somebody's online reputation, which to me sounds like you're going to fiddle around and fake reviews or do something like that. And that's called lying, where I come from.
Correct.
And so, between that and what you said, it just kind of makes me think of that. It's like,
right.
But now, that being said, it's like they're probably not taking down even the average one. So you can still, as an average, look at things like specs. Let's say it's a consumer product. I'm not going to go to Yelp for food, for me.
Right.
So a consumer product, the mix of the specs plus the reviews, and then maybe if you can go, some places like some big computer stores. There's one in Kansas City where I got my setup. They have their internal reviews, and then they can also import reviews for that same product from other review places.
Right.
So if you go, well, if it's an internal one, it's a little bit less likely to be skewed in all this. Well, we'll take it down if we get you a gift card.
Right.
Because that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I took it though, because it wasn't. I was like, well, maybe it's my Windows 10. Like maybe the camera still works. So the camera was $29. You gave me $20. I just bought some new office supplies. Whatever.
I'm not saying that you did. I'm not saying you did.
Oh, I know that,
really
but I'm saying,
wrong.
but people are going to do it. It was $25. As I'm deleting my emails the other day, they went down. Those little suckers. I could have got $25, but then they went down to $20. But anyway, reality. So besides with the virus and stuff going on, and I don't, businesses are going to fail during this, but on an average, normal, all the time, businesses fail because they don't think forward. They never have a future plan. You come into them and you say, okay, so how are you going to open this business? Oh, I'm going to do this and this and this. We're going to do this. And I'm going to hire these 7 people. Okay, well, where's your budget? Well, we really don't have a budget yet. Okay, get an accountant. I don't know if you keep getting my hint, but they need to have someone that knows the numbers. It helps out a lot. So you have your accountant, because accounting is way, way different. I mean, to me, accounting is way more important than the marketing part of it. You have to have both, but you need to start with the accountant. You need to start right off with someone that knows what they're doing. And so you say that, and then they go, well, then I'm going to do this. Okay, well, how much money do you have to make? And they're like, oh, I'm going to make $100,000 a year. You're going to make $100,000 a year selling sandwiches. Okay, that's probably not going to happen. So let's work out a budget here. Let's get you going. And you have to be able to think forward. You've got to, like, I'm going to do 150 pounds of meat to start out with because that's going to get us to this level. But at some point you want to grow and you got to fix something, or you want to move your location to get a better location. So now you got to go up to 200 pounds of meat. You have to have a plan. You've got to look at this as serious. And the biggest reason that they fail is because they don't think forward. A lot of people with this pandemic stuff going on had absolutely no plan. And the really cool thing about it is that some people, when this happened, within 2 weeks were like, let's do it this way. So I was talking to, in Dallas, one of my friend Robert was telling me, or I might have watched it on, actually I think I watched it on a video. I did. It was Simon Sinek, I think it is. He is one of my favorite on YouTube. He's awesome. He's like a coach. And he said that there was a pizza restaurant that in New York that had just opened up during COVID. And of course they had to shut down. They're brand new. Mm-hmm. The owner figured out that they could buy this rubbers, this plastic stuff, and that their ovens were hot enough to make face shields for the hospitals.
Wow.
So they started making face shields for the hospitals with their pizza oven. Now that guy right there is going to make it in this world because he didn't even skip a beat. He was like, well, son of a gun, we can't do the slices anymore. We can't do this anymore. What can we do? Because I've got a brain. I'm going to smart. Now, this isn't a plan that you think, if there's a pandemic, we could always do that. But he still was a forward thinker because he automatically jumped into it. You have to start thinking about this kind of stuff. What happens if you are in a predominantly snowy area and that closes your place down all the time? How are you going to make it through the winter when 40% of your days you have to be closed because you've got 12 feet of snow? You need to know what you're going to do and how you're going to make that. That's forward thinking. That's not like, well, we'll just figure it out when we get there. I guess if we close again. Last year we barely made it, but this next year it could just be different. You have to think about that kind of stuff.
And some of that is the intelligence. I'll say in a broader sense, it sounds more like a corporate or a government environment, but business intelligence and keeping track of, how sales and how they spiked and drawing some, related information to why and when it spiked. And
correct.
Try to. One of your deals, and you said think forward. To me, it meant also think forward as you try to understand what you intend for maybe the growth to be.
Right.
And to figure out how you can think forward through that growth plan. And then also to think forward with the types of data. I say that in a formal sense, but as a layperson, types of information you could use to understand the weaknesses and the strengths of your business and the environment you're in, and try to, understand that even if it's a little bit, spreadsheet, something like that.
Right.
Just try to start tracking and understanding what works, what doesn't, what you might go forward with that way.
Exactly. So that is in the money part of it, but you also have to think forward on your marketing part. So, back in 2006 is when Facebook came around. So in 2005, we had MySpace. MySpace was music. MySpace was not anything that was going to promote a business or anything like that. In fact, Facebook only started out to show your cat pictures, your dog pictures, your jokes, your memes, meet people from all over the place. It was not a business thing. I've always used it as a business because when I saw that opportunity, I was immediately, and people are like, that's not what it's for, Kim. And I was like, if I have 1,000 people on here in Topeka and I've got a restaurant, I am communicating with you to tell you about my business. I have been doing this since 2006.
It's early. You could find this term probably 15 years ago or longer, guerrilla marketing. And so it's the same thing. It's like think of ways to pierce through the institutional, not that you shouldn't use those, but there are ways that you can save money potentially that are smart and make sense and still reach people. What are those ways? And that's, guerrilla with a Guer.
Right.
Marketing. And early on, Facebook was guerrilla marketing.
Right.
Now it's like regular marketing.
Regular. So you have to think back.
Although some Facebook uses are still more guerrilla marketing versions of it, as opposed to, I just buy, I buy advertising, and therefore my stuff gets to more people. There's still there's always a guerrilla marketing way to do any particular thing.
So if you're stuck in your way and you're like, nope, all we do is the newspaper, and as the newspaper falls away and like viewership goes down and they don't print as many papers, and you're like, nope, I only do the newspaper.
It's always worked for me.
It's always worked for me. And then they're like, I don't understand why things aren't working. And you're like, well, because really the viewership of the newspaper, it's really kind of online. You have to do this. But I just want to do the newspaper. You've got to be able to be, okay, so what is working now? So the example that I had was TV commercials. TV commercials were really not, depending on what channel it wasn't big for like the really small businesses, but a lot of times they would do some co-op advertising. They would have some discount stuff.
Right.
So let's say that you use television commercials. And you have to remember that, we used to have 5 channels. That's all we watched. And then we got into cable. And then you would have like 75 channels, and now we have like 2,342,762.
763, I think.
Oh, did that one just come on?
Another second.
Okay.
Just happened.
Was it 64 now? Because anyway, so all of a sudden, before all this happened, we got DVRs. We had it to where, first of all, it was the VCR. You had the VCR. My mom used to tape her shows. So I would go and I would tape my shows. And then you fast forward through the commercials. And then from the VCRs recording it.
General Hospital, June 19,
yes, my mother
1984.
As the World Turns. Yeah.
You put it on. You could pick the 3 different, 2 or 3 different level quality, so the thing could be 3 times as long as you pick the high quality.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. 180 minutes.
And then when you come home and
hours.
like there's been like there's something on and the it pushed off the soap opera for like 20 minutes, and so it cuts off the last 20 minutes. Oh, hell I'm like, just watch it tomorrow. It'll still be the same thing. But anyway, so then we have the DVRs, which basically forwarding through the commercials again. So everything has been set up to basically eliminate the commercials on television. So they start out with
30-second forward.
Yep, we're going to get through the commercials. Then we have the apps, and the commercials were completely eliminated. So you go to Netflix, there's no commercials. And then they came up and they were like, you know what? We can make more money if we offer them a lower package with commercials, but they pay a premium price if they want to not have commercials, which I believe like on Hulu is you can get a commercial package or you get the no commercial package.
It used to be that way. I don't know if it still is, but
well,
yes,
because I have commercials
on
on mine. Like mine has some commercials that they pop up at random times.
And you can't skip, because some places you can't skip them.
You can't skip
Other
the commercials.
You can.
But these shows aren't made for commercials. You remember how back in the day they had the commercial spots where it was like, you did what? And then you stare at each other.
Right.
We're staring at each other right now. And they would go to commercial.
I just slip my head to
now
the
they
right.
don't.
I just slip my head to the left and
no. And then it would go to commercial, and then you'd come back and it would, but that's not how the shows are made. The shows are just made, and they're just like, and throw in a commercial, and you're kind of like, what the hell? So anyway, but then so then they have the commercials that now they have apps that now have commercials. So if you're watching your app on NBC or ABC or CBS and all that stuff, they have national commercials on there. They're not normal. All right, so I went to KunoCreative.com and I just looked up word of mouth. I always like to look at other people. There's really no reason for me to go and do all this research when I found these people just had some good headlines. Word of mouth, it takes a long time. It limits your reach. It can spread misinformation. not misheard lyrics, but misinformation. It isn't targeted, and it's difficult to measure. Those are some of the things that are the problems with it. So it's not really a marketing plan. If you sit down with your team and you're like, all right, you guys, we're here and we're going to do a marketing plan.
You tell got the your pizza, friends, and then you tell your friends.
And then they're like, so the first one's going to be word of mouth. And so, John, what you got? Well, how do you do that? That's not even part of a marketing plan. The marketing plan would be, what can we do to make people talk about us? Mm-hmm. Maybe have a good jingle, maybe have a funny thing that they remember, so they're like, oh my gosh, did you see that commercial for blah, blah, blah? That could be possible, but you can't, all this, it takes too long. It takes a long time. If I opened up a restaurant and I said, hey, Tyson, I opened up a restaurant. Go get the word out. How fast is that going to get people in? I mean, how many people do you talk to? 4? 5?
And
2?
who are you counting? I mean,
your family,
co-workers?
Well, yeah, I didn't know. I don't know.
So, non-co-workers, yeah, 4 or 5 a year, yeah.
Yeah. And he counted me twice.
Oh, you're not supposed to repeat. Oh, I thought you meant total discussions.
All right, and it limits its reach because it's only gonna touch the people that you like. If you roofed my roof, it's only gonna be around people that I decide that roof conversation is even pertinent to talk about.
Yeah, and even if I tell my friends, they're probably not likely to tell. They're exponentially less likely to tell their friends unless they did go follow up. Well,
right.
How many of them have followed up on what I said in any given period of time? Well, some of them may keep it in the back of their mind, but they don't have the first-hand experience. Now, some of them may say, if somebody specifically asks, hey, I got a friend who says such and such is really good.
Right.
But if that second person down didn't specifically ask, how often do you think my friend's going to be like, oh, I got a friend named Tyson, and guess what he likes? Oh, he, it's like Bob Sacramento of Seinfeld. So, it's not going to spread quickly.
It doesn't spread.
But even then, it's like, that's the thing. It's you're already working against the word of mouth that is franchised and corporate ownership.
Right.
So you better have your ducks in a row for people not to want to go, well, whatever. Wendy's has the $5 deal. I'm just going to go get it. They go, where's the closest Wendy's?
They have a multi-million-dollar ad package, and your word of mouth is not. No.
How are you
over there? Did you go over there because that place has a $5 meal? Nobody's even going to think that. They're going to go, yeah, Wendy's does sound good. They're not going to remember that. I did a calendar, and I put everybody's stuff on there, and I couldn't tell you after I put it on there what anybody had. I didn't remember that stuff. The misinformation, that's the biggest one, is you're taking someone else's word for it. So, you don't know if that's the ex-girlfriend's, boyfriend's, sister's restaurant, whether they're just like, don't go back there. Like the other day, we went to a restaurant, and they were like, this one is really good. I like this one, but we won't go to the other one. And I go, oh. And they said, I go, is the food bad? And they're like, no, it's got the same food. And I was like, so you don't go? And they go, the customer service sucks. And it just makes the whole experience. And I go, oh, like every time? They go, well, yeah, the couple times we went, it sucked. And I'm like, okay, so like it still sucks? I mean, because it's right by your house. The food is the same, but the customer service sucks. But is it going to always suck, or is it just suck because that waitress is there? You don't know because people come and go.
That's why I've never liked it. It's kind of like how I say I don't want to see the picture of the Super Bowl parade where the guy's up in the tree and then he falls right through the tree.
Oh, yeah.
I do not. I hear that some people are trying to give information, but it seems more like. Listen, I know that businesses need to train well, but I also know that any given moment, a 19-year-old server may just be having a bad day.
Yeah.
And
44-year-old server can have a bad day.
Right. And so I don't. It just that whole customer service thing. I'm going to take that anecdotally.
Right.
And I think most people should, and you especially should for anything that's local. Because would you
Right.
say, well, I'm not going to Wendy's because they have bad customer service.
Right.
You're going to Wendy's because of the food. So why are you doing this different standard, the convenience, and because you know the food. I
Right.
don't mean because
Right.
it's just great. So why would you do a different standard for a local place about customer service? To me, that's entirely anecdotal.
Right.
And if you go there and it's not good once, I don't think that should override, considering, and you especially shouldn't be telling. I know that sounds, it just seems almost mean to me.
Well, and
I know that's crazy because it's like, well, no, the owner should need to control what's going on in their
Right.
restaurant. I get it, but to your point, that's a potentially one-time scenario.
Right. And then
You know?
someone's, because the other day on one of the reviews, they were like, oh, that place sucked. And like 5 people were like, I've never had a problem there. I
Right.
like going there. They have really good food. And I've never had a problem with the server. And they were just like, oh, they're like, did you talk to the manager? First of all, talk to the manager, but I'm not even going to get into customer service because that's a whole nother conversation. But, and it's difficult to measure. This is difficult to measure. Word of mouth is difficult to measure unless you only do 15 houses a day and it's on referral. Then you can measure that. You'd be like, oh, yeah.
You don't even have to measure it because if you know that you're such a low volume and you just say, you're the owner and you're talking to your customer and it's like, hey, man, I really appreciated you helping you out, Roy. Well, thanks, Jim. You did a great job. Well, just let people know.
Right.
I'm available. I got some spots open in July.
Right.
If he tells 10 people, you don't even need to know whether or not all 10, whether he told 10 or whether you just, you got a spot, in July that's now taken up because one person said yes.
Well, and
so
like
a real low volume, you don't have to track it as much. Just, as we said, you could rely on word of mouth with really low volume, big,
right.
big.
And word of mouth works really fine if you want 15 customers a year. I mean, that's good. So like, I'm getting new siding put on my house, and the company that's doing it, he actually used to live across the street from me, and I never talked to him across the street. Didn't even know he lived across the street. I just knew from the truck that he drove what company he was. Well, then he showed up at a network meeting, and I was like, "Hey, you lived across the street from me." I got to know him a little bit, watching what he's doing, watched his company grow, watched he got married. He has a positive attitude on Facebook. He's not gripey, which is very important to me because if you're going to be attacking people and just thinking that you're high and mighty and being mean to everybody, I'm probably not going to work with you. My choice, keep being mean. Keep being mean. But anyway, so because he came to a meeting and actually met me, went to a networking meeting, no word of mouth, no one has said to come to me, but he took his time to go to a network. That's where he got me as a customer. Now, I didn't go on here. I did. I totally forgot about that. I contacted one of my contractors that I do the accounting for to make sure that they didn't do siding. And I said, who would you recommend to do siding? And he gave me 2 different names. And then he said, there's a company in Kansas City that can help you. And this guy's name was not either one of them. But one of them was a huge, big company.
Right.
And I wanted to give the little guy a chance. And so I contacted him. I contacted my ex-brother-in-law for windows and siding. He never got back with me. So this guy got back with me. I contacted and talked to his wife, set it up, and they're coming in October. And he was even like, I'll move things around if you really want it done. I'm like, nope, I don't. October is fine with me. I want to get this done. So there was no word of mouth there. I don't know anything. I met him in person. So if you, as a business owner, you still need to get out. You still need to be a business owner, not just roofing or not just siding. Go and meet people so people can actually meet you. That's an easy way of doing it.
You have this 5 cases when word of mouth marketing isn't enough, and I think it's going to highlight some of the things that we said here.
I think so too. So let's see here. Here's some scenarios. You're a well-established brand. Once you've achieved a certain level of brand recognition, word of mouth may get your name on the short list, but it won't make the sale. In this case, you need to delve into multi-channel efforts that can help amplify the movement your word of mouth efforts began.
Yeah, and you remember we said it in a previous podcast, but worthy of repeating. I was in radio and wrote commercials, and so I remember after my undergrad, my first job isn't about being a broadcaster per se. It's in radio, but it's actually writing commercials and producing them and stuff. And so I needed to just delve right in with whatever I could. And one was called, we've talked about it, The Wizard of Ads. You can go find this. It was a pretty big professional deal. The guy would come around and do presentations and stuff. Anyway, one of the things is when they talk about here, what reminds me of it, it says this is when you need to delve into multi-channel efforts that can help amplify the movement your word-of-mouth efforts began.
Right.
And with one of the things from the Wizard of Ads was, we talked about it, is that when you start a certain channel of advertising, let's say it's media of some kind, most of these are going to have some kind of a plan. Like you can pick plan A, plan B, plan C. And they're going to have this or the equivalent of it, the best time available. So it's be called BTA. It's probably the cheapest one. So basically throw you into the schedule somewhere where there's room. And what can happen is it'll do the opposite of this. Instead of amplifying the movement, it's like instead of laser focused, you're just kind of, you don't have you don't, what do you call the little bullhorns?
Yeah.
You know, you're just kind of speaking out in all directions, and so you don't want best time available.
No.
You want to be able to pick. So you're going to think, well, that's the cheapest, so I'll get my foot wet. Well,
Right.
some of your say radio, that means some of your spots are on at 1:40 in the morning. Others are on at 11:10 a.m. Others are on at 4. Probably none of them are, because that's like drive time, actually.
Right.
And so, where do people hear you enough?
Right,
Because
that repetition. You have to have that repetition.
People rely on hearing you plenty. So there's, yes, you maybe need to amplify if you're bigger, but there's also, when you're small and you're starting, don't fall for the idea that the cheapest
Right.
packages are even a good dipping your toe into the water. Do something where what Wizard of Ads said that I'll always remember is, whatever you can afford, dominate that section. Now, if you
Right.
can only afford 1 hour, then make sure you advertise in that hour every day. Oh, in that hour every day. So you could hear that on the
Boom,
microphone.
boom, 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 boom.
So if you can only afford, if you think, well, best time is available, and that's going to take a large advertising package in order to get much in
Right.
where people hear it more than even once a day. But if you go, I'd rather have drive time, but I guess if I'm always on in the 11 o'clock hour,
Right.
in AM, always, every day, or at least every weekday, some fraction of people are hearing my advertisement every day.
Right. And when I was talking to my friend Ron, he used to work at Cumulus Radio, he said that there was a business owner who took all of the time slots from 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. And they were dirt cheap.
Cheap, but
And
concentrated.
he got tons because of all the nurses and the hospitals and all that stuff. And he picked that, and that was like the best time for what he did, because he did exactly what you said, is he picked those 2 hours, and that's the only time you heard him. And there's a lot of people still listening. 24 hours, radio goes on 24 hours. And he said, and that was the best thing, but he would get 10 times the amount of commercials for the price of the drive time. So he would get the 50 commercials as opposed to the 15 commercials.
And don't concern yourself. I know we're talking broadcast. It seems like the dinosaur medium, but there's going to be some similar analogy for other
Right.
mediums. But don't concern yourself so much with the idea of having to. I actually lost my train of thought there. I missed that, but. Yeah, you want to just make sure that you can dominate whatever you can afford, as opposed to,
Right.
I want a bunch of people to hear it. Well, then you're going to have a bunch of people who barely ever hear it.
Yeah. Well, and
Oh, I know what I was going to say. So you're going to think, well, but they're going to offer certain packages, like best time available, drive time, whatever. The traffic, if you will, they'll call that the traffic director. So the traffic director in broadcasting is really they really just use a computer system to set up whose advertisements can fit into what slots.
Right.
And then the thing generates every day. That's a very intricate system, And you might think, well, I can only pick these certain packages. You'd be surprised with how the creative they could be if you ask them, like that one. Well, I just like to do every single day, 2 a.m. hour, 3 a.m. hour. I know people listen to that overnight show, and they'll be up and listening, and that'll work. They're probably more able to do those types of things than you might first get the impression of.
But when you're on Facebook and you sponsor an ad, it's just going to happen whenever. I mean, it's going to pop up at all different times of the day. You never know. You don't even know who's going to hit. And it's not hitting everybody, and it's not hitting, so you're not really concentrated. I mean, you can pick a state or
it's like,
city,
do you really,
area,
I don't know this. Do you know how much you can niche it down?
No, well, you can niche it down to, like, the community. Like, I could say Topeka, and I could say an age. And I can say, like demographics and stuff like that like that. But as for a time, there's no time. So if it's running, I mean, if they're popping up, on different things, it could pop up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I could see it at different times. And I don't really know how it works. I don't really buy anything off Facebook. But okay, so if you need to generate revenue fast,
this is a second of 5 cases when word of mouth marketing isn't enough when you need to generate revenue fast, which is just what you said.
Right.
It's like word of mouth won't grow it quick enough.
Right. I mean, you're not gonna bring in 75 people in a day to your business. You're not even gonna bring in 12 customers a day. Or a flower shop or something that needs like 25 customers a day. If you own a flower shop and you think word of mouth is going to get people to come in there and keep consistent and over again, it might in 15 years when it's just your go-to and you've built up that of customers, but you open up your door, you're going to need more.
I like that first one if we can, that, you think of the top 3 places you would go do such and such, but it said if you're a big player, that'll get you in somebody's mind, but it won't get you the sale. So what else are you going to do to get the sale?
Right. You got more steps to do.
Yeah.
So word of mouth isn't there. You need to prove the effectiveness of your marketing efforts. You need to prove it. You need to understand and know it. This is a plan. It's a plan. And word of mouth is not a plan. It is reckless of thinking that your customer is going to go out and do the work for you without any kind of compensation unless there's a referral.
In this case, they're saying if you've got some folks that you need to answer to, then word of mouth is, to your point earlier, is exact. How do you show what's working? You can't show it, and so you have to answer to those senior stakeholders. And what are you going to answer them with?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm doing word of mouth. Well, how's that working? I
don't really know.
Yeah.
Can't really tell. And then you're trying to enter in a new market. So you could be, let's just use my friend Val's cheesecake. So Val does cheesecake. So let's say that, no, I don't even want to use that one. I want to use Sheridan's because Sheridan's did this. When Sheridan's first opened up, that's Tyson's favorite place. They had ice cream. And then all of a sudden they added food menu a few years back, probably 7-8 years back, all right? But they're known for ice cream. That's just ice cream. I can tell you that the majority of the people in the city that we live in have absolutely no clue that they have a full food menu.
Only place I knew about it was the fact that they put it up on their, I want to say billboard, but that's not what they call it.
Their menu.
Well, I mean, they said for a while
on their sign
they said, food on the way.
Right.
For many months, but if you didn't go by it a lot, and maybe you wouldn't have visited there before because you'd think, well, I wouldn't mind going there sometimes, but all they have is custard. Then
and
you would know because you don't head over there.
I looked at the menu when we were there the other night because I got there early and you were late. So.
Well, at least I said I was going to be late.
Yeah, you did. You did call.
8 minutes.
Yeah, right when he's supposed to be there. I'm going to be late, but that's okay. But I was looking at the menu and I was like, I'd like to try their food. So I would love to go back and try to actually eat there. It never was it was never in my brain to go, hey, let's just go to Sheridan's and grab a burger. Then we can get some ice cream. It never, ever. And I used to put them on my calendar on the food special for the $5 meal deals. It still didn't click in my head because I was working.
So in your point, although this one says you're trying to enter a new market, as when word of mouth won't be enough. You don't even mean geographically.
No,
you mean
I'm talking just
you
a whole
were in
new
the
food.
custard market,
You were in the
and
custard,
now you're
in the food market.
Yeah.
I mean, you can enter into a new market like a location, but that's just common sense. This is when you change it up and you want to do something different.
So, yeah, it says you need to ensure you're also creating highly targeted content tailored to the new decision makers you're hoping to reach.
Yep.
So before it was like who? Well, it's hot, and by the way, it's a cool place to hang out outside for a little bit, and we'll just go by there and hang out at
Let's
night.
go grab
and,
some ice
we
cream.
just played softball.
Yeah.
Or the kids want to go after they swim, or it's a nice summer night.
Yeah.
That's a little bit different feel than you've got pork tenderloin or whatever the hell they have.
So, yeah, because it'd be like, hey, you guys, man, when you want to go let's go to Sheridan's and grab some ice cream, and then not many people are like, so you want to go to Sheridan's for dinner?
Right.
I mean, the people that know about it. So, and that's just an example. That's any kind of restaurant. When you change something and when you add something to the menu, how do the people know that you're doing this? You sure know when McDonald's does it. When you know when the McRib is back. You know when they do dollar drinks. You know when the filet of fish is buy one, get one free. Because it's all over over
and the other thing too you're
and
fighting against, right, is not only the advertising, but that if I drive through a small city like here, well, I see it on the signs at 6 different locations.
billboards. Yep.
I mean even there, I can pass 6 different locations.
Yep.
See some of them and see what the new deal is. Let alone nearby billboards. So you're also fighting the fact that your one location whereas when they have 5-6 locations in a small city, that means everybody's fairly close to one.
Yeah.
Well, everybody, if you got your one location, is not close to you, so they're not just going to buy happenstance, just kind of read going by.
Right.
So you're fighting against that too. This last number 5, I think, is a really good one for 5 cases when word of mouth marketing isn't enough.
Yeah, you have a complex set of products or services. So it might not be to where someone even knows everything that you do. So let's say, when I had him come over to look at my siding, I said, these are the things I need to be done. I need my roof looked at to see if I have hail damage, and I need siding. And he came over and he goes, we can do the roof and the siding. I was like, oh, because I knew he was Elemental Roofing was his first company. Then he changed the name. So I knew he did roofing. I didn't know he did siding. And he goes, oh, we could do the siding. So then we were discussing things. And I said, okay, you want to wrap the windows, but what if I want to get new windows? And he was like, oh, well, I guess we can wait for you to get the new windows, and then we can always come back and wrap them. And I was like, well, instead of doing the roof, since it doesn't have damage, what would it cost me to do the windows? I wonder, I could call somebody. He goes, oh, we do windows. What? I had absolutely no clue. So if I were to want to get windows, his company that I knew was Elemental Roofing. I didn't know that he had changed it yet. I just knew he did roofing, and he ends up coming in like, no, I can do any of the outside stuff, and we can do windows. So he has multiple different products that I didn't even know about, but he was able to take care of me. There's a lot of places.
Yeah, and so there's this is basic marketing, but also something you need to think about. So a copyright and trademark, it's really that if you use something that seems common or is a regular term, a regular word in your, there's going to be a crossover here. In what you name your business, you're not going to be able to trademark it and protect that copyright or trademark very well. ABC Roofing, it's just a common phrase. So that's why people do something like Zytec, or something. Right. It's very unique. The more unique, the more likely you're able to protect that copyright, that trademark. Right. And so what did the person do? It kind of messed them up. They put roofing in it. Right. And so roofing, it's almost like they thought they were going to build their advertising into the name, when that could have been a like a subtitle, if you will. And the advertisement provides that. Whether that's home solutions, maybe he should have gone broader. But to your point, would you have known whether he does, I delve in gutter services too, the gutter installation. I'll do, I don't even know what else, but any, the repair of the underneath there where you got to put the little vents so that the soffit, the little vents and everything, and I put in the little whirly birds, all kinds, roof ventilation, you know. So you've got to, when you have all those different things, if you're not careful. I like this sentence. It says, while their pure delight, the word of mouth, people, may be enough to drive someone to check out your product or service, you need to spread plenty of factual, educational messages about your product to help counteract any misinformation. By the same token, then, what are we doing? What if that person can't explain that you have a real unique approach because you liked this particular way of doing roofing?
Right.
You know, whether it's some specific design, element for the materials that you use or the design that you use, and that person's like, oh, it's great, they do this new deal. Well, is that enough? I mean, that sounds good, but it just drops to anecdotal. I go to the idea of, but can that guy explain it? I mean, to me, it just sounds anecdotal, and it's the only roof they've had put on in the last 20 years. So do I know that they know their roofing anyway?
Exactly.
Or they just know that they were okay and don't know any better. I don't think. If they say that, I don't think you're bad.
Right.
I just don't know that the layperson definitely proves to me that you're good.
Right.
So it's better than getting a bad review. It's just not, to me, super convincing unless I have a conversation with them. If I'm not smart enough to have that conversation and pull out the information from them, then you got to have something that fills those gaps. To convince me more.
And you're not teaching your customer about your whole business. It's not like you sit down and say, okay, well, we're going to do your roof, but let me just give you everything else that we do, just in case you want to go out and market for me. So when someone says, hey, I need siding, chirp, chirp. They're not going to bring up the guy that did the roof.
Right.
Because they didn't get the siding. It's not even going to click in your head. You're out having a couple cocktails, and they're like, I got to get siding. Yeah, I was thinking about getting siding too. Not, hey, the guy that did my roof did the siding. That's not what happens. It's like there's so many things going on. So let's end it with saying, it says, the word of mouth marketing can be widely powerful and is one of the most useful tools for the organizations of all sizes and that want to increase brand authenticity and earns prospects' trust. However, this tactic alone is rarely enough to drive consistent qualified leads to your business steady and growing. By understanding the limits of word of mouth efforts and identifying how to build it into a larger, more holistic strategy, you'll be well positioned to meet your goals. Meaning, when I say if you got rid of social media, what would you do to market your business? You need to have a plan. Now, social media isn't going to go away, but if the next new thing comes up and people start jumping ship, you're going to you have got to be doing multiple things, whether collecting the customer's data and keeping in touch with them, whether it's through email, whether it's through mail, putting an ad in the local little magazine or papers. There's a lot of different things in your community that you could be doing. But when every time I ask this question, and this is the third time I've asked it, everybody honestly believes they're just going to do on word of mouth. Now, here's the thing. American Family, State Farm, Geico, Progressive, all of those agents have millions of dollars worth of advertising out there. It's not saying go to Kim Schultz, your American Family person. It's advertising American Family, and then all they have to do is put Kim Schultz American Family anywhere, and then people are going to find them in their local community. They have the marketing. But if you are Kim Schultz Insurance Company and you're dealing with the smaller companies that do the same business but just aren't as big, I'm going to have to put some work into it. Yep. And word of mouth through customers is great when it comes to insurance. Yeah, that's my insurance agent. You should go check them out. I've got like 5. I have 5 different people that I tell people to go to. I'm like, I have this company, this company, this company, and this company. I say go to all of them, and these are the 4 people you need to go to. I'm not giving them just one. I'll give him my guy, but I'm going to give him more options. And so that
goes right back to the number 1. It'll get your name on the short list, but it won't make the sale.
Exactly.
Bam.
And so, anyway, so if you own a business out there and you want some more information, just let us know. I would gladly try to help you with that, or my team can help you come up with a marketing plan, or there's somebody in your area.
To be clear, you won't get the bonus of Tyson. I'm going to be off playing aerobics somewhere.
Oh, but
So,
you know what? If
I'm
you
not on
need
that
a
team.
commercial made, I'm pretty sure we could have a commercial made for you.
Possibly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'd be about the only place I would be
We
able
could-
to fit in.
we
But
could get-
to
we
be
could
clear,
get
I'm
a
not
co-
part of that magnificent team. And
He is part of
whether that's
part of
good
the
or bad,
team.
that's
He's,
up to you.
He's part of the team. He's just a little part of the team.
Yes.
You can do that. You can.
Wow.
you can make commercials. You hear our intros; they're fantastic. They could pay you to do some commercials for them.
You know, that's interesting you say that, because I was thinking as you were saying the last little part, and you talked about how people have co-opt advertising, where the advertising's made, you got to tag it at the end with your own information. And it made me think of, you even have to, some of your plan has to be, do you want an ad agency? Sometimes ad agencies are a great idea, but you need to understand whether you need one, whether you want one, whether the station itself can do the work. It's, you've got to be ready to be that finicky customer
Right.
with this too, because sometimes the stations can do the work and other times the agencies cannot do the work, and then vice versa.
Right.
Because if you get an ad agency, they're going to be a lot more expensive than the station. But it might be worth it. I mean, it's
Right.
just one of those things with all of these deals, speaking of word of mouth, but be that finicky customer when
Right.
it comes to that type of thing.
Well, and you have to remember that commercial or any of that video or words or whatever represents your business. So if you like it, if they don't do a good job at it, then you need to find someone that's better. Just because they say, we're going to give you all this advertising and we'll make it for you for free, it's not free. If they suck, say, you know what?
Costing you money.
You know what? I don't like this commercial, and I would not put I don't want you to make it. I would like for you to give me some money, and I take some money off so I can go get a better commercial, because I'm not doing this with this commercial or the way it sounds. And if you
That
need,
said, be that person that while
Right.
you're finicky, ask questions, but they may have some feedback. I know I work with a lot of clients where I say, well, we can say the same content, but in a more efficient way. I'll run it past you. Here's what I think.
Right.
And same thing with the ad agencies. Sometimes they write a 45-second commercial. They don't know it because they don't produce the commercial. I produce
Right.
the commercial, right?
Right.
And so you just got to be ready to give and take. But ask those questions. Be finicky, and understand too that if you don't give the go ahead for me to be creative, I may not know how creative I can be.
correct.
And therefore, you might get a plain Jane commercial.
Right.
So it's a weird balance, right? It's like you almost have to give them permission, otherwise you could get kind of a plain deal. An ad agency's less likely,
Right.
but even that's not a guarantee.
Well, and you got to find the personality. So when we did the intro for this one, I wrote most of it. I had it written, and I gave it to you, and I said, I'd like for you to do an intro, change whatever words you want, just make it fun. And you did the first one, and then you were like, and I was like, I like that, but how about we add this sound, and can we do this, and can we do that? And you're like, done. And so you work together, but you give them a little bit of thing. When we did the Superstar one, I had nothing to do with that one. I said, I want one that is fun, that, like when you listen to it, you're like, okay, what is going
Is
on
that
here?
you mean the Excursion?
No,
or
the Superstar
Oh, okay.
one, where you're like, and now.
Okay, yeah,
So
yeah.
then the Excursion one, you wrote that as well, and so then you sent me my little script, and you said, record this and send me the stuff. You and I made it together.
Yeah.
And then you were like, you suck. You need to do it again. And I was like, okay. So I recorded again. He's like, yeah, still not doing what I want, which I had absolutely no clue what he was even trying to have me do, because he was being very secretive about it. He was like, here's my part, and I didn't get it. And then he goes, here, do this. But he wouldn't tell me until
also,
he
I don't
put
think
it
you
together.
caught the pop culture reference until later, and I thought
had
it was
no
more
clue.
obvious.
Yeah, I didn't get. Well, I wasn't paying attention to it. So anyway, but then we did it together, and then he was like, "Yep, nope," and I was like, "Let me go back and do it again."
You know, here's the thing, though, and that seems like an excursion, but really, it's about understanding, as we've said many a time. You know what you love, and that's why you wanted to do that business.
Correct.
And have it. But unfortunately or fortunately, there's just sometimes you're going to have to passionately get involved in some of this ancillary stuff. Like,
Right.
Is this commercial good enough for me? Does it represent my, and you're
Have your
just going to
friends
have to
listen
take,
to it.
you're going to have to take that time and
Do it.
and you're having professionals help you. But there's here and there, you're just going to have to get into these little pieces. I mean, maybe in an accounting, if you're smart enough to just, to hire an accountant, but where you're going to have to learn those, at least become
Right.
a mini expert in these other things in order for that dream of yours to work.
And these commercials could be on social media, Twitter, Instagram, and all that kind of stuff. So if you need something done for you, we have an entire team of people that can make commercials and do all that kind of fun stuff for you. And they don't have to be where you're at, because I was at my house and he was at his house, and we made a video. I mean, we made a commercial. Or no, an intro. So, all right, guys. Well, we're going to go ahead and end it there. Thank you guys so much for giving us your time, and we appreciate our listeners and are excited that our show's growing so fast. This desk is so tiny, and he just hit it.
I'm so massive.
I accidentally hit it with my leg there.
He's like, whoomp,
rustling.
whoomp, whoomp, whoomp.
Sorry about that.
That's all
everybody.
right. Make sure to go to our Facebook, Kimology411. Oh, we didn't even say the coolest part. We're over 500.
Put the pin down. Put the pin down.
wait,
That's
wait.
worthy of a high
Double
10.
five. There we go. Over 500, you guys. Our goal is 10,000. And so we have a little bit of work to do. But if
Sometimes
you go
these
listen
things turn
to
exponential.
go listen to, we have over 200 in 1 month. So we have our superstar segment that we did a couple weeks, like last week or whatever, with Scott Mason. He was amazing. He set me up with a couple other
I need
people.
to listen to that one. I haven't listened to it yet.
Oh my! So I have some new names from other people in New York that he wants me to
Nice.
talk with. I've got Kelly I still have to interview. I've got some other superstar segments that are going to be coming up. I will be doing probably one a week starting in July.
Nice.
So that's going to be awesome. That's just going to start doubling up all these episodes. You guys are going to be able just to, take a week vacation and just spend it with Kimology.
Yeah.
You're going to be so smart.
Get your long walks in.
That's right. Long
Maybe put in
walks.
the active stuff and, listen while you're playing aerobie. In the active headphones that, stay on your head.
Well, if you haven't joined Kimology 411 yet, you're really missing out. We're starting to do a little bit more in that group. Anyway, thank you, Tyson. And I'm glad that we're back in the studio that 1 week. It's hard to do 2 in 1 and then you miss it, but I was at the pool. I mean, I had to do it.
All I know is we've either made up for, it's literally once a week. I've been on the air, have gone up since we started.
Right.
So one way or the other, either we've met that week
Yeah.
or we've done multiple to make up for it. So
39 weeks in a row. 39 weeks. I mean, that is incredible for a podcast, because podcasts
start.
come up all the time. And
some people have the we just want to announce we'll be dark next week, they'll say,
Yeah.
like that. And I'm like, I don't know if we should do that. That's scary.
yeah.
I don't want to go dark. Can't we just do 2?
Yeah. Well, and we always have so much. Sometimes we do 2 a week because we have to do an excursion. So we can always come up with different things. And if we stay up till 1 o'clock in the morning, we do it for our fans. We do it for you.
And then I had a backup laptop, more than 1 week, where I didn't realize for some reason it wasn't on Central Time. And I'm like, hey, it's earlier than I thought. And then Kim reminds me it's 2 hours later. I'm like, oh, it is late then.
This is late. That's when we start getting giggly. We get a little giggly at midnight when you're doing a podcast. We also have some new studio stuff going on, you guys.
Ooh,
by
so
the time we celebrate our 1 year anniversary, we will hopefully have our YouTube channel up, and we will actually start doing some videos. Meaning, I'm not going to be able to wear my workout clothes. We're gonna have to come up with like an outfit or something.
I'm just gonna put like a, you know how on front lawns somebody will have like the little kneeling cowboy. I'm just gonna put that silhouette up in front of me, so like one of those
so weird
wooden cutout silhouette, so you can be talking over there and I can just be over on the other side of the silhouette.
Well, I mean, you can be on the other side. You can be like, I can put a little fence in front of you, like you can be like the home improvement guy. or
Wilson,
you could, wear a mask. I mean, it's the new fad. It's not going away anytime soon.
Absolutely.
I mean,
the audio version of Wilson, right?
That's right. All right, guys. Thank you so much, and we will talk to you soon. And please remember to keep taking all of your adventures. Have a great week. Bye-bye.